Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fello's Thinking Differently podcast. I'm your host, Alex Vicari, and today I'm joined by two leaders at Fello to help celebrate 65 years of providing person-centered housing and support with people with disabilities here in Maryland. I'd like to welcome to our show Niki Jones, who's Fello's Director of Living Options and Services, as well as welcome back Judi Olinger, who's Vice President of Housing Strategy at Fello Communities. Niki and Judi are experts in their field, and I am so excited to talk with them about Fello's long history of providing housing to people with disabilities and what it looks like today, and most importantly, how Fello's leading the way in reimagining what home can look like with people with disabilities. So let's welcome Judi and Niki to the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, I've got to ask you the question I ask for everybody. Why is it so important for us to think differently about the work we do here at Fello?
Yeah, thinking differently means that we are paying attention to the people that we're supporting, the people in our communities that are looking for the equitable options, opportunities, and foundational supports that all of us need in our lives.
Okay, great. Niki, Judi?
Talking about person-centered and really looking at how we support individuals is different because we don't follow necessarily a roadblock of a set model of how we provide services or housing. So we have to think differently if we're thinking about the individual.
I love that, the individual, which we have to keep that fresh in our mind. So, Niki, I'm going to come to you now, and let's help people understand what Living Options and Services is. Who's it for, and what are those services?
Living Options is exactly what it sounds like. It's looking at opportunities and options that might be in the community. You and I, when we're looking for options for where we want to live, are truthfully looking at our options within the community. Where is it? What does it look like? How many floors? Are there stairs? Are there no stairs? All of those options that make it make sense for the person, but most importantly, make them live a life that is safe, happy, and healthy.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, Judi, I know you've been on the show before, but let's talk about to new listeners. Why don't we provide them with an overview of Fello Communities' work and then how it relates to living options and services?
So at the base level, Fello Communities develops and manages housing for all people and for retail and commercial space. So our portfolio holds a little bit of everything. But if you really want to, the relationship between Fello Communities and Fello started 65 years ago. And 65 years ago, family members said, we want something better for our kids with developmental disabilities. And said, this is what we need. We want people to be included in the community. And so from that has been our charge for the past 65 years. And we continue to do that and look at ways how we can support people with developmental disabilities as well as others have an inclusive environment.
Oh, that's great. And I think it's really important to understand Fellows is a big organization, and people don't necessarily understand. They think of the immediate need, I need services, right? But really, there's this whole partnership and a beautifully orchestrated, team effort. So let's talk a little bit about the partnership and how it looks on a day-to-day scenario for both of you with two seemingly different divisions of the company.
Yeah, so our day-to-day partnership is just open communication, a very deep relationship that is one where we can pick up the phone and just call one another, or shoot a quick text and get some help and get some support. Day-to-day, it's working with a team of maintenance folks that are pivotal and critical to our success. I have something with plumbing I need taken care of. I've got some electrical stuff going on, but it also boils down to this piece of a person is aging and a critical healthcare need changes. They need something changed. They need a different type of toilet seat. They need a different bar put up to be able to navigate the staircase. Being able to pick up the phone and say, this is what we're looking for. Let's look at our options here. Means our day-to-day relationship goes back and forth.
Okay, great. Now,
Judi. From the housing side, it is making sure that we are in that constant communication. It's continual collaboration. Yeah. It's looking at how we design buildings, how we provide the services. Those maintenance techs often are having to use interpersonal skills above and beyond what you would find in a typical apartment complex.
Love that.
So there is a lot more support and communication that happens. Somebody might be having a bad day, so Niki will call over and say, I know you're supposed to go over today and fix that, kitchen sink or something. Right. Can you wait till later because the person's really struggling today? And we respond in kind. And so it's that kind of communication that really makes it work.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, Niki, now in your department, right, your division of this company, Living Options and Services, in housing for fellows, they're the oldest services you guys offer. And so what I'm kind of, let's go back to start to the beginning. And, what motivated the founding of Living Options Services as a whole?
It was motivated by families who wanted more for their loved ones. 65 years ago, everything looked a little bit different.
Sure.
Options for folks with disabilities were not what they are today. Judi already mentioned, purchased our first house 65 years ago. Yeah. We still own that home. That is still an option for some folks. It is set up in a way that the people that live there now, that is their best space. That is a space that keeps them safe, makes them happy, and helps keep them healthy as well.
Well,
yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And I like what you said about the 60s, 70s, things have changed, right? And so, but I'm really curious about, what have been some of the challenges as you think back and look at this with Fellows founders and how they relate to getting those homes up and running and then in the neighborhoods, and then how does it compare to today?
So, picture back in the 60s, people had the choice of either keeping their child at home or sending them to an institution. Those were the only two options that were available. And so for the longest times, we were, breaking news type of thing by setting up a group home in the community. I can go back to, not trying to date myself, but I can go back to the late 80s, early 90s, and I opened my first group home for me at a different agency that I worked at. And back then, when you bought a home, you had to go and hold a public hearing. So you had to invite the entire community to come in and give us feedback on us moving into a community, people with disabilities. Wow. And I remember this one house, there was a potential tenant who wanted to move in, and he came to the public hearing, and people were being so cruel and negative in the hearing. And he just stood up, and he just sat there, and he said, "You don't even know me, and why do you hate me and don't want me here now?" And today, that doesn't happen. So the fair housing laws changed in Maryland. That went away as a requirement to open a group home. And now things are so much different. Communities are open. I think Niki has a story around.
It is vastly different now.
Yeah.
A couple years back, we opened a new home in our Severn area, and actually it's for the gentlemen who were born and where they were raised in that house that we had originally bought back in the early 60s. There are three brothers. They've always been living together. They've always had this really cool opportunity to stay together as siblings. I don't know if
I don't think I'd agree with that. Yeah, no, I don't want to see my brothers that often.
That opportunity exists for them, and it really works nicely for them. So we have this new property in Severn, in a community. Before anybody moved into the home, one of the neighbors found out who we were, what company we were. She left a note on our front door with her name and her phone number and said, "We are so excited to have you. Here's my name. Here's my number. Please call us. We're so excited to meet you," which is such a completely different scenario.
Different scenario.
60 years ago, 65 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that gives you a lot of reassurance because I have a nephew who has special needs and that he, needs that compassion. He needs people to look at him as a person. And he's an amazing individual. Like he inspires me all the time. And to think back, 60 years ago, like what it may have been like back then, we're just very grateful for these opportunities today. So that's fantastic. So now I'm going to ask you both a little bit of a question here. So 65 years here at Fellow, and housing is a major part of all of this, obviously. But is there a consistent increase in demand for housing-related, services for people with disabilities?
Absolutely. The big answer to this is yes.
Okay.
Yeah, community-wide. For living options and services, we have seen an increased DDA, so the Developmental Disabilities Administration, has started approving folks for waiver services much younger, which means now we have a larger pool of people that are looking for opportunities and options within their community. Yeah,
wow. So,
And I don't think you would be surprised to find in any community, in any county, in any state in the United States right now that doesn't have an affordable housing issue. In Maryland, right now they've identified in the next year we'll need over 100,000 units to meet the demands of the current population as a whole in Maryland.
Just a whole.
As a whole.
Okay.
So now you talk about affordable housing, you add that to it, and then you talk about people with disabilities who need accessible or very low income individuals and their need for housing. So I think it'll be a little bit of time before we've met the demand.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that our work is going to be ongoing
Yeah.
for some time. Yeah.
All right. Well, so let's talk a little bit. And Judi, I'm going to come stay with you here for a minute. So
Okay.
when you think about that demand and these needs here, now
Sure.
we're also thinking about living options and services and housing.
Yes.
But how is Fello unique compared to other people trying to meet this demand for housing, right? I mean, what are you doing differently?
So we have a really unique relationship. So you'll hear me talk about tenants,
Mm-hmm.
and Niki will talk about people she supports.
Okay.
And I think there's two different things. We are the landlord.
Right.
We provide the housing, and we provide the maintenance and everything else your landlord is supposed to provide.
Right.
But the difference is that we go above and beyond because of who Fello is and how we
Sure,
think
sure,
differently.
yeah.
So we'll look at how we design a house. We look at like accessibility. We know that Niki talked about more people coming on earlier,
Right.
and that's why the demand's getting bigger. People are living longer, just like the
Yes.
general population. So people are aging, and we're having to look at how we can support people in that way as well. So there is this constant communication that we've talked about earlier. But we do think about it differently because I am the landlord. If somebody's having a struggle, I call Niki and say, "Hey, Niki, this person seems to be needing some extra support," and she's able to jump in that way. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Is she right?
She's absolutely right. She could see something that I may not see.
Yes.
Some pieces of information
Sure.
that come from her very specific lens that
Okay.
is so critical in making sure that, again, folks are living the lives that they want to live.
That's beautiful.
absolutely.
So, Niki, tell me, can you share an example where someone was pleasantly surprised by, how we do things here?
Yeah, thinking differently is part of just our soul and the blood of everything that we do. There's not all organizations that are supporting folks in building relationships. You'll hear me talk a lot about relationships, how that is just the foundation of everything for everyone. All of those relationships are important to us. Folks with disabilities have relationships too. Some of them are romantic relationships. That could be a level of fear for some providers in some areas. We do not. We highlight that. That is incredibly important. That helps us all function and make it day to day. There's a young lady who, where she currently is, supporting that relationship is not happening for her in the way that she needs it to happen for her to be happy. We're exploring options for living options with us so that she can highlight that relationship and it can become a focal point that she wants it to be. So it's a very pivotal change for her. It is something that is incredibly different, but it will make her life better.
I love that. And I want to comment something about the relationships because the reality is we have relationships that are built on trust. Right. If you don't have trust there, then there is no relationship. So I love that from the community aspect, but then also from the fact of, helping these people build their relationships. Right. I mean, that's beautiful. And so, but Niki, I'd like you to continue a little bit here. So when you talk about shared and supported living on a day-to-day basis, right, it makes a very powerful model, but how does it affect the independence and the sense of belonging?
Yeah, so the community that you live in and the house that you live in and the folks that you are living with is person-centered. It's who you want to be with. The day-to-day of that is exactly what our day-to-day could look like.
Right.
Are we coming home early because we're not feeling well from work? Okay, we're going to figure that out. Are we coming home and we have a party that we were invited to and that's where we're headed? That's where we're going. It makes it so that, again, as a repeat, we are over and over the folks that we support living the lives that they want to live in the way that they want to live them in the communities in which they want to be. Where you are is what makes you happy. It's what makes you successful. If you're living in a space, in a community, on a street where you're not happy, you're not going to thrive.
That's important. I think that's a great transition to Judi. I'm kind of curious so how do you design these homes and these communities around this? And how are they chosen?
So if you think about it, you may choose to live in a city. You want to live by yourself. You want a one-bedroom, and you just want to be like in the mix of everything. You want to be close to all of the events and everything else. There are people with disabilities who want that type of housing. Me personally, put me out in the rural farmland, let me be out and be away from people, and I don't need to necessarily be around everyone 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's what I would want. So we have those options. So
Good.
people do want access to employment. People want access to grocery stores. I don't care if you live out in the farm or if you live in the
Right.
city. And so we look at what people would want, and
Right.
we design and we create that. I do think that we do work closely with Niki and her team on saying, what kind of trends are you seeing? So we're seeing a lot of people who need who really want their own apartments. We'll start looking at building one-bedroom apartments and along those
Oh,
lines.
wow. Okay.
If there is, Niki is saying, actually, a lot of our folks are aging in place and we're really needing more accessible units, then we go ahead and look at doing that. And so I think it's really a combination of that communication as well as knowing everyone wants something different. Nobody
Yes.
wants exactly the same. And so trying to create a portfolio that allows for all of that.
Yeah, and obviously we're all individuals, so you got to keep driving that home,
Absolutely.
right? Till we all know that.
Yep.
But you said something else here, and it's been a trend, and I'm going to tell you what that is. I keep hearing it more and more in every conversation, and it's a very hot topic, I believe, and that is aging in place. Because you said, people are living longer, things are changing. So can you maybe both speak about how Fello makes sure that you're providing units that are accessible and then making sure that they have the appropriate accommodations?
Yeah. So when you think about aging in place, it's a matter of thinking of examples when folks are not having the opportunity of aging in place. Sometimes you may think of somebody in your family, a loved one of yours, where they've lived in a home and they suddenly need this, they cannot ambulate staircase anymore.
Oh, okay, sure.
Well, we've seen some of the elevator style chairs that can go up and down. That may not work in everybody's house. Or I cannot get in and out of my bathtub anymore. Sure. And I can't build in something that makes sense. So aging in place, the way that we approach that and are thinking differently is adapting the home to what we might be forecasting.
Love that.
What do we see medically coming for this person?
Okay.
Having conversation with family, if there is family, can help us lend a helping hand in what kind of conversation should we be having with Judi and her team about options for a residential home. Should stairs be something that we're looking for this person or not?
Well, there's that collaboration across divisions.
Exactly.
Again. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. All right, Judi. So tell us a little bit about how leasing works, and is leasing connected directly to services and the people that receive those services from Fello?
So no, not
Okay.
at all.
All right.
So every tenant who lives in a Fello community home has their own individual lease. It's a Maryland binding lease. It's a year-long lease. And so that if that person says, I just think I would like to not receive services anymore, or I want to pick a different service provider for whatever reason, they don't lose their housing, which is very traditional in other providers, where if you want a different provider, you have to move out and move into their housing. We separate that out. We also hold people accountable to their leases.
Sure.
If somebody brought in a guest and they were staying there longer than the lease allows, which allows for
good.
guests, we would go back and we would send a letter to the tenant. But where we would differ is we would call Niki and say, hey, Niki, I think something's going on. I think we need to figure something out here. But this person can't have another tenant in the unit, and we will hold them accountable to that. So it's and they hold us accountable too.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Niki, now the question is for you. Now, when you talk about finding this home, this could be forever home for some people. I'm assuming you got to match people up, do all this thing, and we're not bringing up Match.com, right? There's a little you got to figure out how do these people work together, right? How are they going to have that synergy? So, I'm kind of curious. What do you do to make sure that these people have a good experience?
Relationships. Asking questions, leading with curiosity.
Yes.
100%. We have an incredible admissions process.
Okay.
There's a funnel point. There's a starting point. There's calling one person or emailing admissions. Start asking questions about what is it that you need. It's almost like an a la carte sort of thing. Let's talk about the service or support that you think you need in this one particular area.
Right.
But then there's folks from all the different departments within Fello that are sitting down saying, would we be able to provide successfully for this person what they're looking for and what they need? We're talking amongst a group of directors from different departments that are all experts in what they're doing to build that collaborative approach so we can build that plan, making sure that we have the appropriate housing site that would be safe and happy and healthy for that person.
All right. Well, Could you maybe share, Nikki, continue and share like just one story about what, kind of captures the idea of what happens when we make sure inclusion is an element of, housing and why it's just not just simply an idea, but it becomes a reality.
When a person has lived their entire lives with their family and they suddenly have this opportunity to blossom out on their own and explore pieces of their personality in their life that they maybe didn't know even existed.
Right.
Get a job that they had thought about and dreamt about and never had somebody supporting them and getting to that place. Okay. Gainful employment is something that really motivates people, right? Money, success, relationships. Watching somebody who has finally been able to meet a dream that they've never expressed to somebody and they say thank you. They don't even have to say thank you. We can see it. We can see the smile. We can see the sparkle. We can see them buying a bike. They've always wanted to ride a bike. They know how.
Yeah.
They never had the opportunity to buy one, but now they have their own job and they finally can. Being able to provide that service, having a safe space in the community that they want to be is exactly what we're aiming to do and thinking differently to provide for the community around us.
Well, that's great. It gives them a sense of themselves, their belonging. That's great. Judi, coming back over to you now. Yes. As you look through Fello Homes as a housing strategic lens, okay, what do you see as the real indicators of success? And maybe, because it goes beyond numbers and units and things like that, right? So tell me what success looks like.
So I'm going to tell you a story because I think that exemplifies. So there's an individual who had been living at home and kind of coddled in a lot of ways, moved into a unit with a roommate who is about the same age, a young guy, and they both enjoy, like they clicked and they just, really have a lot of social interests in the same. This person came out. Because of where the house was, he was able to get a job with Parks and Rec. Oh. And he gets to walk to work because it's close enough. So he's working. He's making a good money. He is connected with his community. He knows his neighbors. He gets along with his roommate to such an extent that they are good friends and they do social things together. That's success. That's what it's all about. That's what we want to do. Yeah.
That's great. Yes. Thank you for that story.
Sure.
Nikki, let's talk about you. What are the opportunities and challenges that are shaping the next decade for living options and services at Fello?
Yeah.
The disability world as a whole.
Absolutely. We've talked about a couple, aging in place. Yeah. Right? It's an opportunity and a challenge.
Absolutely.
Making sure that people have the opportunity. It's in place as far as housing options and people that are supporting them that have the expertise and the skill set to do that and do that passionately. But at the same time, making sure that we're keeping up with all the new technologies and the things that can be done to modify a space and talking to the people supported to make sure that they feel that. Challenges, convincing families and external stakeholders that we need to focus on what this person wants. It is their choice. It is how they want to live. Sure. So it's not always about what other people who, as a parent, you always want to make those decisions and be in that space to be able to do that. We want to support that, and we want to highlight that and certainly honor that. The people that we support are living their own lives.
Yes,
helping them to make that a reality. Yeah. That is always a challenge.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, having been part of the Fello community now for a couple of years, one thing I've noticed, and Judi, I'm kind of curious your take on this, is that, and my belief is that Fello has, earned this great reputation, but it's strategic, and it's about taking strategic risks sometimes, and driving innovation. So what I'm asking is, what's coming next? What does it look? What does it look like today, and what's coming next?
I think if you go backwards, a part of our model or thought process around buying properties, looking at development, was to fit into the existing community. So we would buy a single-family home, a duplex, a townhome in a community, and assimilate into that community. I think our next step is one of our projects is actually we're creating the community. So we're actually able to, we have 6 acres. We're building 120 residential units as well as some retail space. And it's right on a rail trail. And we're intentionally leaving a huge piece of that as green space so that the community comes in and we're not, it's not a set aside kind of property, and the people who live there will be people who are paying market rate rents. There are people who are of varying incomes, varying abilities, and we're able to kind of pull that together. So we're creating the community now, which is really incredible. So yeah. That's kind of our forward thinking at this point.
Absolutely. Planning well in advance.
Yes.
From not just inside the home, but the communities.
Alex,
Absolutely.
a really cool piece of that is that within this community that is being developed, the
Yes.
whole community that she was talking about, there's going to be an opportunity for a group home.
Oh.
So folks with disabilities to be living inside of that same community space that's being created. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
It
Go ahead.
is.
What were you going to say?
And I was going to say, there will be a group home, at least one, but there will also be units that we're setting aside for lower income families. So if people don't want to live in a group home but want their own space, somebody with that is supported by Fello, there's opportunity for that as well.
Well, maybe you could tell us a little bit for those viewing the show right now, as those who might be interested in the future. How do they go about learning more about living options and services as well as the Fello communities? What do they go do?
Great question. Let's look on the website. Give us a call. Give us a call. Shoot over an email. There are always people that are available to direct you exactly where you need to be. Tend to know who to call, who to reach out to, get you connected, what you need.
Okay, great. But take that step, right?
Absolutely.
Take the step, pick up the phone. Don't be afraid. You don't know where it's going to go.
That's exactly.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you.
great. Well, ladies, I just want to thank you both for being on the show
thank
today.
you.
Nikki, it was great having you on the show. You did a great job. And you know what? Judi, it was great having you on again.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And we hope you've all enjoyed the show, and we hope you'll catch us again and watch another episode of Fello Thinking Differently. Again, I'm your host, Alex Ficari. Until then, take care.